Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to the channel. This is my first ever video on the Austin TV channel. This is a channel that's essentially all about movies and TV shows. I am dedicating myself to creating content specifically for that passion of mine, and I am going to start this channel off with a bang by reviewing Wonder Woman 1984. Now, this movie has gotten a lot of hate and it's got a pretty low rating on Rotten Tomatoes right now. Of course, it's starring Gal Gadot again as Wonder Woman. It's directed by Patty Jenkins, and I really wanted to like this movie. I am a huge DC fan myself. I love pretty much every DC character and their stories. I really enjoyed the first Wonder Woman movie, so I was anticipating, like the same thing going into Wonder Woman 2. I was like, yes, Christmas Day, I'm going to rent Wonder Woman on Apple TV and just sit down with the family and watch it, and we're all going to have a good time, sing Kumbaya together, and just like this movie. Sadly, it did not go that way. Now let's hop into the review. So the first thing that I want to talk about in this movie is its story. The story for Wonder Woman 1984 is literally the most simple plot I have seen in a superhero movie in a long time. So Diana at the beginning of the movie is just working a regular job at a museum, and a magical artifact just randomly pops up, and it basically just grants people what they wish for, and a lot of people take advantage of that because you can literally wish for pretty much anything you want. That's essentially what drives the story in this movie. People make some bad wishes and she has to deal with that. Even Wonder Woman herself makes a questionable wish. The story was really slow. Like the first hour of the movie, there's like one Wonder Woman scene. Everything else is just Diana just doing, regular everyday things, talking to characters and moving around, and then cutting to other characters in the movie as well and just having basic dialogue scenes. Nothing really that interesting happened for a long time, and since it is a Wonder Woman movie, which is a comic book character, you would expect to see that comic book character a lot more than like once or twice in the first hour. So I was a little bit disappointed with that, because the first Wonder Woman movie, we saw a lot of Wonder Woman, and that's what I really liked about it. Going on missions and just doing Wonder Woman things. The character of Diana is really interesting as well, but not more interesting than the actual like Wonder Woman character. And I think they definitely could have used a lot more Wonder Woman scenes. So back to the stone. So the stone itself grants wishes. Now Wonder Woman uses her wish to bring back Steve Trevor, but the way that they brought him back was the weirdest, creepiest, senseless, just flat out weird way to bring back this character. So she wishes for Steve Trevor back. You literally could have just been like, okay, Steve Trevor is back, poof, he's back on Earth, and I would have been okay with that. She wishes for him back, he's back, awesome. The way they did this was so weird. What they did was they basically said, okay, so Diana is wishing for Steve back, and like his consciousness is going to inhabit another man. That already sounds weird, but just wait. So this man obviously did not consent. It's literally just Steve Trevor just going whoop into his head and then just like controlling him. The weird thing is everybody sees this dude as the dude. Like, it's not Steve Trevor they're seeing. They're just seeing that regular guy. Steve is like inside doing Ratatouille, basically moving him around and telling him what to do. The guy has no idea his body is being basically possessed. So Steve is using this guy's body like a meat sack that's just walking around. Goes up to Diana at a party and is like, hey baby, it's me, Steve. And she's fine with it. She sleeps with him. She kisses him. She does everything. But like the weird thing is it's still this dude, right? Like it's not actually Steve. So she's like literally smooching some random guy. And I don't know, that just sounds like morally wrong. And I don't know how they wrote that and was like, yes, that is great writing. People are gonna love this. I don't know what they were thinking. It was just a very weird thing to watch, especially like when your whole family is watching and we're all knowing that it's not actually Steve that's like sleeping with Diana, but she's like totally fine with it. So I'm like, I don't know what's going on, but we will roll with it. In my opinion, Steve should have stayed dead, because when a character dies and it's a big moment like that in the first movie, bringing that character back, in my opinion, just makes no sense because it ruins the importance of the scenes from the previous movie. But that is essentially the story. There's a magic wish stone, a bunch of people make wishes, and Diana wishes for her Stevie boy to come back, and then she's all happy and she's like, oh my god, Steve, but it's actually like some random guy. Then they go on a couple's mission to go and try to stop the people that made those bad wishes. That's that's essentially the movie. The next thing that I want to talk about is the tone of the movie. Now, it was very, very lighthearted. A little bit too light for my liking. Like, it literally felt like a comic book, which is totally fine. I love the comic book feel to a movie. A lot of people are comparing this movie to like Superman 2, just that classic cheesy comic book style movie, which I'm totally fine with. Just the thing is, the tone changes throughout the movie. So if they kept like a consistent tone for the whole thing, that would have been cool, but they switched it up a lot. So it was a little bit confusing when I was watching it. Now let's talk about the villains. Now, Pedro Pascal, I love the guy. I loved him in Mandalorian. He was good in the We Can Be Heroes Netflix show, but that movie was horrible in my opinion. And he did really good as Maxwell Lord in the Wonder Woman 1984 movie. He had a decent backstory. He had good motivations as to why he was making the wishes that he made, which was essentially to get everything he's ever wanted and be very, very successful and cause chaos around the world. So he had like some pretty bad guy type motivation. He was an okay villain. Like, if he was the only villain in the movie, I think I would have been fine with that. His acting is just so good. Like, I don't know how he flew under my radar for so long. Like, I've barely seen anything that he's in. And then in 2020, it's like boom, 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 Pedro Pascal's in like everything. And I really, really enjoyed the performance he brought to the Wonder Woman movie. Maxwell Lord was menacing. He was charming. He was creepy. I would say one of the better DC movie villains for sure. The next villain is Kristen Wiig as Barbara Minerva, which is Cheetah. Now, I was really worried when I watched the trailer and I saw that little scene with her. I was just hoping and praying that she didn't look like a character from the Cats movie. Luckily, she didn't. It looked a little bit better. Her motivations were fine. It's the classic like dorky character that wants to be all cool like the hero. So she wishes to be like Diana. She gets speed and strength and she starts being more outgoing and guys start to notice her and like her and hit on her. That's decent motivation, you know? Like, it's very, very basic in terms of villain motivation, but it works. I think one of the big reasons why they brought Cheetah into this movie is just because Maxwell Lord isn't going to be, you know, like fighting Wonder Woman. So they needed someone for her to kick and punch. And they were like, okay, let's bring Cheetah into this movie and, you know, a classic Wonder Woman villain for her to fight. More on that fight very soon. Decent villain overall, but I definitely think they could have done a lot better. An important factor for a superhero movie are the fight scenes. This movie didn't really have any, to be completely honest. Like, there wasn't really anything super memorable. At the very beginning of the movie, there is a mall fight scene, which is in the trailer. You kind of get a glimpse of it. That was decent. It was really just her versus regular humans, so it wasn't anything, you know, like spectacular. It was a pretty one-sided fight, and then she doesn't really fight anybody else until like the final part of the movie when she fights Cheetah. And I've got to say, in my opinion, that was one of the worst superhero fight scenes ever in a movie. It was so boring. They literally did like nothing. The fight scene had like no memorable moments at all. There was no cool moves, no cool powers used. In the trailers and posters, you see she has this golden Amazonian armor, which has a really cool backstory to it and everything, but you would assume that this armor is going to play a big part in the finale, be like that extra boost she needs to take down Cheetah. Not the case at all. Cheetah literally just scratches and punches and breaks it in like 30 seconds. I thought the armor was going to be way more powerful and play a bigger role in the movie versus just, you know, getting destroyed in a few seconds. So I was pretty bummed out with that. And another thing that I'm not a big fan of when it came to the action scenes was the lasso. She uses it just way too much. Even in the comic books and animated shows and everything, she doesn't use it that much. She'll use it for combat once in a while, and especially for getting villains and enemies to tell the truth to her. But in this movie, she used it so much that it started to become annoying. Like, every time there was a fight scene, you would just see like a golden lasso flying all over the screen. And I get it, it's one of her most famous weapons in her arsenal, but like at the same time, she's super strong, super fast, and she barely performs any like regular combat in the movie. Okay, now on to the cons. It's a pretty big list, I'm not going to lie, but let's go ahead and just go through them. First big con is she uses the lasso like she's Spider-Man. There's so many scenes in the movie where she's just like boom and just like swings like it's literally Spider-Man, and it's very, very weird to see considering this is Wonder Woman, obviously not Spider-Man. Once in a while, if she wants to use the lasso, grab onto something and just like swing over, fine with me, but the way she used it in this movie was so often that it was literally like I was watching Spider-Man. Con number 2 is she literally just gets invisibility powers out of nowhere. She's just in a jet with Steve Trevor and is like, oh, like I can make things invisible now, and then just goes whoop and makes the jet invisible, and I'm just like, what? Where? we could have used this so many times in future DC movies in the timeline here, and you just didn't bother to ever do it. It was very, very weird. Like, it was cool to see the invisible jet in a Wonder Woman movie, of course, but it just didn't really make sense in my opinion. Like, that's a pretty cool ability to have. You'd think you would use it more often. Con number 3 is Chris Pine literally possessing someone and thinking it's morally okay to, like, sleep with them. The guy did not consent for him to be in his body doing the things he does, and I don't know if that guy is, like, consciously watching Steve just, like, take control of his body and do these things. What if that guy has a family, a wife, kids, a job to go to, bills to pay? Like, I have no idea. I just thought it was the weirdest idea to put in this movie, and the fact that multiple people were like, yeah, that's a sweet idea, just blows my mind. The next con is the magic wishing stone. I thought that was just a really lazy way to create a story. I could see this being a plot driving device and maybe like a 20 to 30 minute episode of like Justice League or a Wonder Woman show, but not a full like 2.5 hour movie. You've got to have a bigger, more spectacular story for a big budget movie than like a story that you would typically use for like a kid's show. The next con, I don't know if this is like CGI or like Patty Jenkins wanted it to look this way, but the way Wonder Woman runs, it looks like she's floating over the ground. Like, it literally looks like this. It doesn't look like her feet are actually even touching the floor, and it's just very, very weird to watch. Another thing that I wasn't a big fan of is like, this is a super powered woman. Like, she is strong, she's fast, she's just a really powerful character overall, and what I didn't like was that power and strength should translate to at least when she like jumps in the air and lands, that it makes like a little tiny like hole in the ground or something. Like, look at Superman, when he like lands in the ground kind of, you know, so you would think Wonder Woman, you know, she jumps up high and lands, it's gonna be like a boom and then like stand up and have like a nice shot of Wonder Woman. In the movie, multiple times she just kind of like flies up or jumps or something and lands. It looks like she's literally like weightless. She just jumps really high, is coming down super fast, and then just like whoo, just like floats onto the ground. It's like, what? And I know she can fly now, but like I don't think that's the reason, because she was doing that before she even knew how to fly in the movie. And it was weird because powerful characters like that, like Superman, even Iron Man in the Marvel universe, and the Hulk and so on, when they land, it's like you feel that. And to have such a powerful character just like whoop, floating onto the ground after she makes some big jump is just really weird to watch. Another thing I didn't like was how the story ended. Basically, Diana goes on like this big lecture on live TV and tells people why they should renounce their wish, because that's the only way to like defeat the whole bad guy thing, and basically tells everyone to renounce / give up their wishes, and I guess everybody does it in order to save the world. It's the weirdest, like cheesiest ending. What I didn't like was it turned into almost like a 2-minute lecture from Wonder Woman saying like why people shouldn't get everything they want and taking shortcuts are bad, and it was basically like a big lecture moment, and it was a bit cheesy, I'm not gonna lie, but like I see how that kind of worked for the story. It was just weird that apparently like everyone was just like, okay, yeah, you're right, I'm gonna renounce my wish. Very, very weird. The next con, I know we already touched on it, but it was the golden armor and how useless it was. They built up this backstory. They had a really great character who used to wear it in the past. They showed the armor at the beginning of the movie and basically said like, this is for fearless warriors. Diana's all amazed as a little kid. She's like, oh my god. Then she finds the armor when she's older, puts it on, and it gets destroyed in like 30 seconds by a B-list villain. So I was like, okay, whatever, I guess the armor's useless at this point. What a movie. Now, don't get me wrong, there was definitely some scenes that I did like, but it's kind of overshadowed by a lot of the cons that I just mentioned, because there was so many of them. So whenever there was like a cool scene or a scene that I enjoyed or liked, literally like the next scene would just be like some random scene that made no sense or was really, really bad, and then I like instantly forgot about the scene that I liked. So it was a really weird movie, and like I said, I really wanted to like this movie because I'm a huge DC fan. I really liked the first Wonder Woman movie. So to see this movie and say the things that I'm saying in this review is really kind of upsetting. Very disappointed with this movie is basically what I'm trying to say. I expected more, especially because it was like literally the same crew coming back for this movie that did such a good job on the first one. I don't know what happened when they were making this movie, but it's just not a really good good movie, to be honest. Now, should you watch it? Maybe on a rainy day when there's like literally nothing else to watch, you're really not going to miss much. One more thing I forgot to mention is a lot of things that happen in this movie make no sense for the timeline. In the other DC movies, she literally says that she wasn't doing any Wonder Woman stuff for a long time, and then she's just kicking butt in the 80s as Wonder Woman. She has invisibility powers now, she has the invisible jet, World War III almost happened, she can fly. None of those things make sense in the future movies, so I don't know if they're even going to address it or not, or if in the next DC movie she's just going to be flying and making things invisible and they're gonna pretend like nothing ever happened. I don't know, it's just a very, very weird movie. And the thing is, they had a lot of time to perfect this because of the whole lockdown and theaters being closed. But I know their test screenings didn't go the greatest and they had a lot of reshoots and all that, so I wasn't expecting this to be like an amazing movie by any means. But I was hoping for it to be at least decent, but I was pretty disappointed, I'm not going to lie. So guys, leave a comment down below of what you guys think about Wonder Woman 1984. Thanks for watching my first ever video on the Austin TV channel. If you like the video, make sure you like and subscribe. Thanks for watching, guys, and I will see you all in the next video.